Orlando, and Crescent Beach. So I've got clothes piled up to the roof, QB. I've got to do some laundry. Doing well, though, and glad to be back.
Well, you're a world traveler.
Yeah, right.
So real briefly, before we get into what's going on in the sports world, how was your golf trip?
Well, that trip was one of its kind. It was an amazing trip for me because I'd never been to that area of northern Michigan in the Lower Peninsula. It was a place called Traverse City, a very sparsely populated area, but in the middle of nowhere, you find these just absolute 5-star, unbelievable golf courses. And I would say that it's amazing to me how impressive and in great shape these courses are with the grass and the bent grass that they have there and the trees and everything. When they're only open for about 6 or 7 months out of the year. But believe me, they make their numbers in those 6 or 7 months. I went to a place called Arcadia Bluffs, which is right on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan, north or parallel directly with Green Bay, really. If you drew a line and a crow flew from Arcadia Bluffs, it'd land in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So it's really far up there. The course reminded me of, and not that I've been to Whistling Straits, but it's the same kind of thing. It's a links course. Very hilly, sandy, traps everywhere, right on the side of a cliff. And the hills and the crowd that was there, I think they had on their tee sheet 240 tee times for that one particular day, if you can imagine that. But it ran smoothly. They kept things going. The course itself was the most amazing place I've played because the views you had on every single hole saw Lake Michigan from an elevated view with elevation and hills. And just, it was one of the most amazing places. I played it at around 6,400 yards, had a great round, had really the best round of the week on that course. And as far as my 4-day tournament goes, I finished the bronze medalist, 3rd place out of 12 guys. So I was very pleased with how it went in Michigan. They also had a Tom Weisskopf design in the middle of nowhere called Forest Dunes. It was tremendous. The greens are extremely fast. And I may have touched on it last week when I was up there. It was just a great experience for me. Never been to a place like this. And getting in and out of there was easy. The people up there are very, very simple. They really enjoy what they have, meaning there's not a whole lot of crowds. There's not a whole lot of traffic. There's not a whole lot of hustle and bustle. It's very slow paced. It's very nice. And you can see where in the wintertime it's almost unbearable with the cold because it is very sparsely populated. I walked into Lake Michigan, got my feet wet, had a great time, and in 2 weeks I'm going to northern Pennsylvania. So I'm just really taking advantage of the summer and trying to see as much as I can and get out of this dense humidity.
Yep, there's no doubt about it. All right, JC. So,
all right,
as you said, okay. Our man Cameron Champ wins the 3M Open. Man, he's got game. He's got game.
Yeah, I have to wonder about that choice of driver on the last hole when he duck hooked it into the fescue, which, by the way, it's very difficult to hit out of up there in that part of the country. That stuff is like the British Open. But Champ did hit a driver, got out of there, made his par somehow. That was a great par. Shot 67, 66 on the weekend. Beat your guy Louis by 2 strokes, who once again was just impressive as hell. He really is something. But he doesn't win. He's close, but he's got no cigar there at the end. Charles Schwartzel, the guy I picked, that's right. Your guy, my guy, Charles Schwartzel, finished tied for second as well. So, Louis, what do we do? When is he going to win a tournament? He's just racking up these silver medals like you wouldn't believe.
And racking up a lot of money.
And racking up a lot of money. That's right. You can win a lot of money finishing second. So, but he's a tremendous golfer. We know that. But Champ is an up-and-coming star for sure. Really talented golfer. And Johnny Vegas had a good round, too. It's nice to see him come back, the guy from Venezuela. Keith Mitchell, the former Georgia Bulldog, was in there, tied for 3rd. Pretty good tournament at 3M coming off a major. You don't get a lot of great tournaments and great finishes after a major with some of these players taking off, but you had many of them come and play this thing, and Usti was right there. He almost holed out on number 18 for an eagle. So it was fun to watch that last day, and good for Champ. He gets his win.
JC, so I meant to ask you the other day, they had the NHL draft recently. Do you know who do you have any idea? I know you're a hockey fan. Who won the national championship in hockey in college this year?
I don't know. I missed that. I missed it. I don't know.
Well, the reason I ask, because in the NHL draft, do you realize in the first top 5 picks, the Michigan Wolverines had 3 guys taken in the top 5 picks of the NHL draft?
It would make sense, Michigan.
It would?
Well,
Usually the people are coming from other countries.
Oh, I see. Well,
but my point is, if they didn't win the national title, having 3 of the top 5 players taken in the draft, something's wrong. But I don't know who won it. So
no, I couldn't tell you. That's odd. But the draft this year and the setup for setting up teams for 2020 or for the upcoming season was somewhat skewed because of Seattle's expansion draft and the fact that these teams had to give up some players so that Seattle could have some, the way the NHL sets it up, much like they did with Vegas. It made it somewhat different, and it's exciting, at least for those people in Seattle. I mean, when you've got Marshawn Lynch announcing some foreign hockey player's name as their first pick for the new Seattle Kraken, they turned it into a party out there, and good for them. Kind of a cool logo too, the S with the red eye and the snake, and it's pretty neat. But I really didn't pay much attention to that draft. I was more tuned into.
Well, I didn't either. I just saw the stat, and I was blown away by that stat.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the one stat that's going to drive me to really thinking hard and long about whether it's good or not is the stat that these conferences in college football look like we're going to eventually end up with 4 16-team super conferences, maybe. Because now that Texas and Oklahoma look like they're coming over to the Southeastern Conference, then I don't think there's any choice but for these other guys to start extending invitations. I don't know. The Big 12 now is turning into the Big 8 again because you're losing the 2 headline schools in that conference. What is Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU, Iowa State, Kansas State, and what are they going to do now? And what is that conference going to do? We hear Bob Bowlesby's name all the time when it comes to college football, organizing college football's playoff, talking and commenting on the direction of college football and the playoff and so forth and so on. His team just got gutted, or his conference is about to be. Hasn't happened yet because they are talking to Oklahoma and Texas as a conference currently. Those discussions are going on. But it sounds pretty certain that Texas and Oklahoma, who drive that conference in every conceivable way in terms of revenues because of football, those 2 schools are about to leave the Big 12, which is now going to have 8 teams if they stay together. They're going to have to expand or do something dramatic because they have no headline school now. Those 2 schools are going. Oklahoma State, what are they going to do without Oklahoma? What is Texas Tech going to do without Texas? This conference is going to be in complete disarray, and they better come up with something, or they better figure out a way to keep Texas and Oklahoma. Now, if they come to the SEC, QB, what's that going to mean for our conference here? It's got to mean more conference games. We already know that's going to happen. So that's going to be one thing that happens that's going to change the landscape of this conference. You're going to look at now 8 teams. You're going to look at 8 teams on each side.
No, you're not going to see divisions. Divisions are going to go away.
Divisions are going to go away. Okay, so let's say divisions go away, and now you have 1 through 16 playing football. Man, it's going to just create a dramatic shift. And
don't be surprised if Clemson and Florida State aren't the next 2 joining.
Well, then you're going to have 20 teams. So if you have
that would make 18.
18. But if you have 18 teams, QB, you're becoming your own league. Your own college football entity now. It's like the NCAA is not going to have anything to say. To me, it's kind of like the bigger you get, I'm not sure that means the better you're going to get. I don't know because who are you going to? So what's the Big Ten going to do? What's the ACC, Pac-12, and these other conferences going to do? And it means they're going to have to consolidate. I see what happening is an eventual, and this is just a guess because that's all anybody's doing right now, but it's worth talking about. I see 4 16-team leagues. That creates 64 teams playing in college football, meaningful football. You're going to have these other schools that you always talk about and love create their own league in some form or fashion. Or fold, but that's even worse, right? So,
well, they don't have. They're going to have to play the big boys to get the money to stay afloat.
No, they're going to have to negotiate television contracts, and they're going to have to create their own entities to stay afloat. What's Memphis? You're not going to wipe out Cincinnati and Memphis, and who knows? All those schools may join some sort of super conference themselves. UCF, USF, they're not going to fold and go away. But what kind of conference are they going to be? Are they going to create? What are these guys going to do? Consolidation is coming. We've had free agency come. We've had realignment discussions. We've had just so much, the 12-team playoff discussion now. All of this is coming together as a complete reorganization and rebranding of college football. I don't know what 20 teams does for me in one conference. I'm not sure that fits for me. I think 16.
I think it's going to happen though.
Florida State and Clemson. Look, why can't they stay in the ACC, and why can't the ACC get Notre Dame, and why can't they turn into a super conference? I realize that the collegiate feel of a conference, where one school is 1,600 miles away from another, when you have Miami and Boston playing in the same conference, that doesn't feel like a conference. It never has. It's got to be similar to what the Washington Huskies and the Arizona Wildcats feel like. I mean, how does that feel like a conference when it is so far and different from each school? There's no regional aspect whatsoever in college football, except there was in the SEC. But now with this expansion into the Midwest, Oklahoma and Texas, bringing in, South Carolina and Florida, it does create more regionalism for the West. And, the East is the East. But now you've got Arkansas and Missouri and these schools that are closer to Oklahoma and Texas, and I think that creates some sort of regional feel. But what do these conferences that go north and south, like the Pac-12 and the ACC, do about creating any kind of cohesive regional feel? I don't know, because they haven't had it. Syracuse and Pittsburgh have zero to do with Miami and Florida State as far as I'm concerned.
The SEC is getting that way as well. If you've got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Call them today. That's QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Got JC on the Titan MR hotline. We'll be joined by former Gator wide receiver Jack Jackson momentarily. Got a text on the Titan MR text line. I don't know who it's from. I don't really understand it. It says, "Go Tide. Wake up, turn on, go Tide. Do they pay for advertising? Never would happen in Tuscaloosa." I have no idea what that means. JC, you got any idea what that means?
Well, do they pay for advertising?
I don't know what that means. But we got a bunch of Facebook Lives here that I want to read. Dan says, brought to you by Meldon Law, "I'm glad Florida's in the SEC because the rest of the conferences are in big trouble. I hope there's quads so there's more rotation of the schedule." I think, they talk about 4 different quads and pods and all this stuff. You're going to see it. They're going to do away with the 2 divisions, and they're going to take the 2 best teams and they're going to play in Atlanta. John says there's a report from Barstool Sports that Greg Sankey is eyeing Clemson, FSU, Ohio State, and Michigan for a 20-team mega conference. I've heard a lot of that as well. Rick says Massachusetts defeating St. Cloud State 5-0 to secure UMass's first ice hockey national championship. Well, there you have it.
All right, the Minuteman.
I bet they didn't get a damn guy drafted either.
Maybe not. The Minuteman, though, that's probably the first championship that school's ever won anything.
So, JC, I don't know if you saw last night. Have you watched much of the Olympics, by the way?
I have not watched. Okay, I saw something in the airport the other day with these guys rowing a boat down a river. I saw that, but that was because I was stuck I wasn't stuck. I was in O'Hare International Airport. It was up on the screen where I was sitting, getting something to eat, and that's it, man. I don't know if I've ever seen an Olympic Games have as little to no interest in it from anybody I know or myself in the history of my life. It just means absolutely nothing to me. I did see where Katie Ledecky, this great swimmer that we have, who's lost. Okay, I saw where this basketball team that Greg Popovich blowhards about lost to France and lost to some team in Africa, and it just makes excuses and gives you a bunch of diatribe BS. I've seen that, but I couldn't care any less than I do right now about the Olympics. I'm more upset about and more concerned about and more pissed off about the Cleveland Indians getting rid of the Indian and going to something called the Cleveland Guardians. I hope every Cleveland Indians fan doesn't buy a ticket and they have no fans next year. I really do. It's gotten to the point where it's absurd, but it's almost
different.
It's almost
no
laughable.
different in the Washington Redskins. Are you upset about that as well?
Yeah, of course. They are trying to erase history. That is what these people who advocate these kinds of things to change are trying to do in this country. You try and explain and you try and debate me that they're not trying to change history. You don't change history. It is what it is. It happened. But what the point is that the Cleveland Indians have been that way for 100 years. You go and tell Satchel Paige's family, hey, he didn't play for those Indians. Yes, he did. And you know what? The guys playing on this team are the Cleveland Indians. And I really do. I hope that there are 0 ticket sales for that team next year. And it's not the players' fault, and it's not the manager's fault, the coach's fault. It's these ownership groups that are scared to death that these crazy woke corporations are going to quit throwing money at them, and that the TV contract folks are going to make them do this kind of stuff. This isn't freedom. If you think that's freedom, you've lost the definition, dude. The Cleveland Guardians, what in the hell is that? So that is more of a story to me and more important than these athletes in Tokyo playing in empty stadiums and kneeling for the anthem and doing whatever the crap they want to do that nobody cares about.
Well, the reason I agree with the Olympics. I only brought it up because the only thing I've watched is some softball. You know, we got 3 Gators. Kelsey Stewart hit a game winner last night, a walk-off home run to beat Japan, which the game meant nothing. They play tonight or tomorrow. I get screwed up with the time for the gold medal. Why they even played that game, I have no idea. It meant nothing.
Well,
because it was USA versus Japan. Okay, it was basically an exhibition game because the next game against Japan tonight or tomorrow is for the gold medal. So why they played it makes no sense.
Well, truthfully, I think this whole Olympics deal, the way they've shut it down, has meant virtually nothing. I mean, I know that they do have record keeping here, and they will have a historical record, unless they want to change that, of who won and who lost. But to me, it couldn't be more meaningless. And I hope and I think that the Winter Olympics in China is going to be just as bad. And I hope it is, because this country is we send these athletes to these games to compete against the world on the grandest stage. And right now they're not even on a stage. They're out there just running around and pretending like it means something, when I guess to them it does, but to the rest of the world, I don't think it means a thing. These ratings, look, I don't know what NBC's ratings are going to be or what Peacock's ratings are going to be. Okay, so again, what is the true meaning of this? And I guess it's to try to get it off the schedule so they can move on. But poor Tokyo, it's just the bad timing, I guess, in their history. They spent billions of dollars for this type of event, and it has as much meaning as a backyard hot dog cookout and frisbee toss. That's what the Olympics has become. And again, it's not the athletes can go out there and compete, and that's great, but it's like they're playing backyard activities, or they all congregated during COVID-19 in some country across the map, and they're playing a recreational sport. Some physical education is what it feels like to me. And it's not that I don't want to watch it. It's just that I don't care. And because there's no real atmosphere, and to me, the competition is kind of watered down anyway with all these badminton. I don't know what that is. I mean, really? So that's where we're at. And it doesn't really mean much to me. It's not, it's not when ABC had the Olympics and you had Chris Schenkel and Jim McKay. You had all this great fanfare, right? And it really had something. When these athletes got on those podiums and they played the country's, they were happy about it. They were proud of it. They stood up for it, and they tried to win because of it. Nowadays, they're all in it for social media, and it means nothing to me. It just doesn't mean anything. Yep. I'd rather watch Charles Schwartzel play golf, and he's from South Africa.
Now, turn your car or truck into a rolling billboard for your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. This July, mention promo code Shane. Receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. A few more minutes with JC, then we'll be joined by Jack Jackson. I got some Facebook Lives here for you, JC, brought to you by Melvin Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Andre says, quote, "They are trying to erase history. Now the show
Yeah.
is political.
Yeah.
Andre also says, I haven't heard this much whining since my son wanted M&Ms before bed.
Listen, Andre, if I cared, I would think about it, but he asked me what I thought. So that's what I think. I think the fact that they are erasing history, the Cleveland Indians will cease to exist, is indisputable. They're not the same team. You can't change that name that's lasted for 100 years and try and tell me it's the same thing. It's not. And even though they play in the same city, what about all that history? What are you going to do about that when you change the brand of the name? And I'm not whining about it because I don't care about the Cleveland history Indians, but that's not right for Cleveland Indians fans. And then when the Atlanta Braves do it and when someone else does it, you tell me, look, if you want to have new teams, if you want to have a new league, if you want to start something new, then go ahead and do it. But leave what's happened and what's going on and what has been a part of history, leave that alone. Because you can't change that the Cleveland Indians were the Cleveland Indians for 100 years just because you feel like it and it makes you feel better today. Now, I'm not whining about it because I don't care that much, but I can tell you that I don't think it's right. So that's my general response to that.
Yeah, the whole name changing is really irritating to me. The Redskins have no business changing their names. I don't think the Indians should. I can't remember. I can't think of who else is. I mean, I know a lot of college teams like the Miami, what are they called now? The Red Hawks. They used to be the Redmen. Syracuse had to change their name.
So again, are we going to get rid of the Atlanta Braves? Is that they're gone? What do you
I'm
think
sure
Pat
it's coming down the line, which is ridiculous.
Why don't you ask Pat Dooley, who grew up watching the Atlanta Braves, the most famous team in baseball when Ted Turner brought that television network out, when they call them the Atlanta Aerosmiths or the Atlanta Airline or whatever they become, you tell me if that's the Atlanta Braves. You're going to change all that branding in that stadium that you spent a lot of money on. You're going to take away all that history on WTBS. You're going to take away the Dale Murphys and the Phil Necros and the Biff Pocorobos, and you're going to say they played for the Atlanta Braves, but that's not who we are now. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
John asked, what's going to happen when the team in Tally changes their name? They won't change their name because they have the support from
the Seminoles.
Seminoles.
But again, what Indian tribe ran to Cleveland and said this is crap? I don't know. Maybe someone did. But why does that? Listen, if somebody's going to get offended by something, then that's a problem that person has because it's just the right time to talk about it. Why weren't they talking about it 25 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 35 years ago? Why are we talking about it today? That's the thing I'm having, is that they are trying to change history today. And if that's where the country wants to go, and if that's what people want to do, that's fine. But that doesn't mean I have to get on board with it. You're asking me. I'm thinking it's baloney. I don't think it's right. I don't like it. It doesn't do a thing for me. I think it's ridiculous.
I don't like the name changes at all either. JC, real quick. I don't think we didn't talk to you on Friday. You were busy. Basically, a lot of people have Alabama winning the West. I actually think A&M has a very good chance of winning the West this year, but I mean, it's majority people have picked Georgia.
A&M does have a real chance to win. They play Alabama at home. Not that that's helped in the last 10 years, but it does give them a better chance. They got players coming back. We all know A&M's going to be good.
But Georgia is a clear-cut favorite to win the East, and some people, I understand the Georgia thing over Florida. I get it. But some of these so-called experts, media people picking Kentucky to finish second in the East, am I missing something?
Yeah, you are. You're missing, as am I, how great we think Mark Stoops is going to have his team ready to play football this year just because they beat NC State in a bowl game last year. Kentucky has been one of those perennial teams that always has this hype that, it's going to be their year or they're going to improve. And then Florida comes and steals a game from them. It's kind of how it's gone, right? Kentucky had every business beating Florida in the last couple of years, couldn't pull it off. So until it's one of those, when I see it, then I'll believe it kind of deals. And I am missing something with you. I don't know what Kentucky has that's going to all of a sudden jump up and be a threat to finish second in the SEC East. But, this Heather Dinich that you talked about from the ACC, talking to how poor the SEC East is, right now it's holding water. Because if nobody's going to challenge Georgia, then it is a one-team league or one-team division. So I don't know that that's the truth. I don't think it is. I mean, JT Daniels, remember, he played well for Georgia, but he played some of the weakest competition in the SEC when he played last season because of how the schedule worked out and because of how his health worked out. He did not play Alabama, right? I don't know if he played Auburn or not, but they weren't that good either. And he didn't play against Florida. He did not. So, no. So I think that I just think that we got, again, it's more of the I'll believe it when I see it thing. I know he's a good quarterback. They're happy to have him, and they're excited that they're picked to win the East. But I can't imagine Florida not being competitive in the East, even though there's a lot of question marks. I think every team has those question marks. But I do think that Tennessee, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Kentucky, that row of teams doesn't put a whole lot of fear into me. At least I wouldn't think, if you're going to try to win a division.
No, I mean, there's no question. The SEC.
You got three
East.
teams. Those three teams, QB, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, South Carolina, all have new coaches, first-year guys. They got to get their programs going. It usually takes time. I can't see any of them threatening anybody. So I guess Kentucky, it's the popular pick. I have no idea what Missouri's capable of. I don't think anybody really
I think Missouri's got it. I think Missouri is going to be – they're going to come in third behind Florida and Georgia in the SECs. They had a ton of dudes coming back. I love their quarterback. I like their coach. I think speaking of Vanderbilt, though, I don't know if you saw this quote. I had to take a screenshot of it. This was during SEC Media Days. Clark Lee, who's the new Vanderbilt coach. This is what he said, quote, "There's no better program in the country than Vanderbilt football, so that's why I'm back."
God bless him.
I mean, who the hell says that?
Well, Clark Lee says that, by God.
Yeah. There's no better program. I'm going to have to say it one more time. There's no better program in the country than Vanderbilt football. That's why I'm back.
Hey,
that makes me laugh.
I'm going to the Vanderbilt Alabama game, and most of that reason is because of it's in Nashville. No, the Vanderbilt Mississippi State game. I beg your pardon. I'm going to the Vanderbilt Mississippi State game in Nashville this year because it's in Nashville. Then the Titans the next day will play the Kansas City Chiefs at home. So I'm getting set for a crazy weekend in Nashville. I just want to be there during a Vanderbilt football weekend and see how many Mississippi State fans show up if their team is good. The West is interesting to me. The West has a lot of intrigue. What's LSU going to be like? Obviously, we know about A&M and Alabama. Are the two Mississippis going to threaten people on Saturday on a daily basis? Or are they going to be run over mostly? And then, how much better will Arkansas be coming off a pretty good season with Sam Pittman there? And I think, the West to me has always kind of had it since 2009. Since Florida won it in 2008, the West has been, since that time, to me, the better side. I think it's pretty obvious.
Oh, it's not even close.
Right, it's not even close. So, to me, the East has had a hard time trying to catch up, and I don't really know why, but the West has been a lot more interesting. Now, this news with Oklahoma and Texas QB, it's a ground. I mean, this is a game changer across the country for everybody. So that's going to really be something if this actually is pulled off. Now, it's just been
it's going to happen.
I
heard from a very reliable source they could be in the league next year, JC.
Gosh. Well, they're currently talking with Big 12 folks, but I'm really curious how that's going to gut that conference and what's going to happen with consolidation. Maybe the Big 12 and the Big 10 get together, right? Maybe you bring those residual teams into the Big 10 conference and create a Midwestern corridor type of conference with those Mideastern teams in the Ohio Valley and so forth. And you have a super conference there. I don't know what the ACC is going to do. I don't know what the Pac-12 is going to do. But if you've got two 16-team leagues, you got to figure out two more 16-team leagues. You have 64 teams playing it off. And that's where I think college football is going. 4 16-team leagues. You think it could get to 20, but 16 right off the top would be amazing.
Before we let you go, JC, Rick says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, 27 minutes into the program, and you not mentioned Bryson DeChambeau. By the way, he tested positive, so he's out.
So tell me how So you're telling me John Rahm's had 2 COVID attacks here in the last month and a half? Really? You believe that? Or do you believe maybe it could be a false positive or somehow it's just not happening? How is John Rahm? How does he catch it twice in 2 months? Do you believe that? Do you really believe that he's got it again? And this kept him out of the Olympics. I mean, this guy's a COVID incubator.
We've had quite a few athletes test positive that it seems like it's kind of excessive. So I don't really know. It's bizarre, but so I think Patrick Reed has taken Bryson DeChambeau's place. I don't know who's taking John Rahm's place.
Maybe
for the Spaniards.
Again, I think the interest in the Olympics has probably never been as low as it is now in the 50 some odd years I've been alive. I can't believe how it's just disappeared off the. Now, I mean, they're trying at NBC, but I don't know a lot of people sitting around watching that, and nobody talks to me about it. I just don't really see a whole lot of intrigue there. But good for these athletes. They get to compete at least. They didn't get to last year. This was rescheduled from last year, so it's a wacky time, my man.
All right, JC.
Let's go, Cleveland Guardians. The Cleveland Guardians are coming to a city near you, baby.
Wait till they change the Yankees' name.
At that point, Major League Baseball's truly been extinct. They will die. It will die. It's just not going to matter. So, but that'll never happen. I don't think the Steinbrenners, as long as they're breathing, would ever let that happen.
Before I let you go, I want you to hear what This Day in Sports brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind's our promise. Comfort Temp's now hiring members with all levels of experience, great culture, and benefits. $1,000 signing bonus. Give Comfort Temp a call, 352-376-2366. In 1970, you were a big fan of the big red machine, JC. Johnny
They were
Bench
good.
and the crew.
Middle of the 70s. Yeah, middle 70s, mid 70s.
Yeah, 1970, Johnny Bench hit 3 consecutive home runs on this date off Steve Carlton of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Oh, wow. Well, great teams there, great memories. Can't wait till they change them to the Cincinnati Blues. And, the horse people will get pissed off about the Phillies. They'll call them the Philadelphia Fish. So, let's just change them all. Why don't we just change them all? Why do we have to have these names? These names are horrible. They make people mad. They make them up. They offend people. So let's get rid of all of them. Let's just get rid of all.
All right, JC. We'll see you on Wednesday, my man.
You got it, buddy. See ya.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. Going to take our first time out of the program. Come back. Be joined by old number 1, Jack Jackson, wide receiver, Florida Gators. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Carter Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
We're looking for all type of restaurant people, managers, servers, bartenders, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, bussers. If you think you're good in the restaurant business, then give us a call.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill job fair is open now. All you have to do is go to spurriersdraft.com and fill out an application.
We're looking for the good team members, and we're looking for people with a wonderful attitude that can make Spurrier's Gridiron Grill the best we can possibly be. To apply, go to spurriersdraft.com.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Les Macarons French Pastries, Palmetto Moon, and coming August the 11th of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, invites tailgate and rooftop bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Going to go back to the Titan MR hotline now, and we're going to be joined by a dude that did a lot of celebrating for the head ball coach. He probably would have been penalized these days if he was doing his celebrations like he did back in the day. Mr. Jack Jackson. Good morning, Jack. How are you, buddy?
Doing good, brother. How y'all doing?
I'm doing all right. Jack, I want to go back. You're from Moss Point, Mississippi, which was a crosstown rival of me. What made you become a Gator, and what other schools did you think about going to?
It kind of worked. It kind of worked out kind of weird because I went on an official visit to Notre Dame and Miami, of course, Mississippi State and Auburn, and those guys with Pat Dye back then. And it was everybody had a different vision of what I was. Miami said I can come as a running back, and Florida State wanted me, but they wanted me to be a defensive back like T-Buck. But in Miami, and when it came down to it, it was just Coach Spurrier believed more or less that I was better suited for a receiver than all the other people that had different positions for me. So it was an easy decision for me.
Yeah, Jack, so when you look back at your Gator playing days, I got to play 1 year with you, and then you got to play with Danny, and then Ike and Riedel, Quezzy, that whole crew came after you left. I still, to this day, believe you may be the fastest receiver that we ever had at Florida. Am I wrong saying that?
You probably would be wrong saying that. What's crazy is that, we actually, when Jaquez, Riedel, Ike, and all of us was there at the same time, we actually timed and competed in a 40-yard dash and stuff then. And believe it or not, and I tell this story to everybody, believe it or not, I think I finished third.
Oh, wow.
And that was like a low 4.3, pushing 4.2 with Jaquez and I forget who those, Jaquez, and it wasn't Rita,
Jamie
but Rita and
Richardson?
Ike, and but Jamie was fast too, but not like that. Jamie wasn't like that, but Jaquez definitely was faster by a little bit when we ran that 40. And then I know I finished third. I'm trying to figure out who I'm missing, but yeah, I was fast, but there was a couple of guys that was just a tad bit fast.
Yeah. So when you look back at your career, is there one game, one play that stands out in your mind the most being a Gator?
I don't know. Probably one of the coolest touchdowns I had, I think, was against Florida State. Was a tip touchdown pass. I remember that vividly. And there's a lot of good plays that I had that stick out. But my first one, I didn't even realize it, Shane. I'm gonna tell you this. I didn't even realize my first college touchdown was to you. So it was from you. So
Yeah.
I didn't even realize I had, on a fourth down play. So, it's kind of cool that someone else brought it to my attention, but I know you and I had connected a lot, and I've had a great number of good quarterbacks with Danny Werfel, Terry Dean, and yourself. So, it's kind of cool, man.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Jack Jackson, former Gator wide receiver on the Titan MR hotline. So, Jack, thinking back, when I think of Gator football, I only think of the Spurrier era up till now because I didn't really follow Florida growing up in Mississippi. But, there's a big stink now, and I think Dan Mullen's kind of made it this way about giving a certain player number one. I mean, when I think of Gator football, you're like the first guy that I can think of that wore number one.
Correct.
Was that your number in high school, or is that something Coach Spurrier gave to you, or what?
No, actually, no. My number in high school, believe it or not, was number 2, and the premise behind that is that I always said to myself, I was always overly confident and very confident but I never wanted to wear number two. Didn't want to wear number one. I wore number two. And then actually when I got to Florida, I said, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going to go ahead and be cocky and be who I think I am and what I am and give me number one. And that's how it really came about, to be honest with you. I was number two at Morrisville High School.
Okay, good deal. Coach Dwayne Dixon coached a lot of good receivers at Florida under his tenure with Coach Spurrier. Talk a little bit about Double D, what he meant to you, and how he made you the player you are.
Actually, Double D's I probably credit him more so than even Coach Spurrier, because he taught me to do the little things, and he was very adamant about how I go about my business. He was a former receiver, and the relationship that he and I had personally really helped me. You know, I went through a time, like I said, when I redshirted that first year, mentally I had a hard time handling it, and because I had high expectations for myself. But he kind of kept me grounded and kept reassuring to me that I was going to be the player that he thought I was going to be. I just needed to hang in there and keep working on the little things and overcome the little injury I had coming in. And he's been a great mentor for me. I probably talked to him more than anybody from the University of Florida, because I talked to him and his wife probably a couple of times every month or so, and I've stayed in constant contact with him throughout his career.
Yeah, that's awesome. Double D. I think people forget how close you have a bond with usually your position coach. Jack, looking back at your career, the SEC has expanded since we both left there, and it's getting ready to expand again. But who did you enjoy playing against the most? What school?
Believe it or not, the one that I really enjoyed the most was Florida State. Playing against Florida State was the high level of intensity and athleticism, and it was the bravado of the game, and how, you know, the cream always rises to the top. And what's crazy is I had more success and more love for playing Florida State than I did with anybody. I actually was looking at it probably about a month or so ago, and didn't realize until this, and I said, I don't think I scored a touchdown ever against Georgia, and it was just they didn't rise to my feelings as far as, you know, hatred or competition level, feeling like I needed to show and do what I needed to do against them. But Florida State always brought it to me. Florida State always made me feel like, you know what, in order for me to show who I am and what I am, I got to do it against them. And, you know, that's what us, like, you know, like you and I looking and seeing and watching T-Buck play back then. And then you had all these cornerbacks, Corey Sawyer and Corey Fleming and all these guys. I just wanted to compete against those guys, and then really love playing against those guys more so than anybody.
We got a Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We're speaking with Jack Jackson here on the Titan More Hotline. John says, and I think he's talking to me, are y'all counting John Capel as a wide receiver? Now, that joker could fly. So I made a dumb comment about him being the fastest receiver because he was world class.
Yeah. John Capel is a receiver. He's really a track guy that's playing receiver, but he could absolutely get it. And I'm talking about his straight line speed is second to none. And I obviously I never had a chance to run against him or see him at practice, so I don't know. I just seen as a fan the same thing everybody else saw, is that he was definitely world-class speed, but it's more of a track speed than a football field. You know, it really didn't translate all that well on the football field.
Yeah. Jack, so when you look back, you know, I played with you 1 year, and then the next year it was kind of a split between Danny and Terry. I think a lot of people forget that Terry played a lot. Being a receiver, was that difficult having two different quarterbacks? You never know. It could be every other series, could be every other game. Was that difficult from a receiver standpoint, having two different types of balls coming at you?
Kind of, the crazy thing is for me, I had a better uh, relationship with Terry because when I first came in on the scout team, hell, he and I was throwing every day together. So I had a better relationship and better connection with him than Danny. And obviously Danny came along for that 1 year, and it was just the way he delivered the ball was quite different than the way Terry delivered the ball. Whereas Terry had a stronger arm and all that, but Danny had a better touch and got rid of the ball so fast once he got through with his steps that you were able to just try to run underneath the ball and gave you a little bit more time to get downfield with him. But it is a little different. Terry was special as well. Danny was special, and they had two different styles as far as being a quarterback. But both of those guys are very good.
Andre's got a question for you here on the Facebook Live brought to you by Metal Law. Who was faster, you or Fred Taylor?
Oh, I'm faster than Fred. Yeah, I was faster than him.
Hey,
yeah.
Let me ask you this. You get drafted by the Bears. You play a little pro ball. Everybody wants to know, what's Jack Jackson been doing since he hung up the cleats playing football?
I've really just been it took me a couple of years to figure out what I wanted to do. I bounced around and did the arena ball, the Canadian Football League, and then once I finally realized I wanted to get away from all the football, I kind of stumbled into the card business, to be honest with you. And I was actually how I came about it was I actually ran into one of the guys that played with me at Moss Point, Rudy Jackson, and he told me what they were doing, and they were in the car business, and so I kind of talked to him, and the manager there was Henry Beard, and then I interviewed with those guys, and that was like in 2000, and the rest is history. I've been in the car industry for since 2000.
Jack, I know you were close to Les Miles' family when he was the head coach at Baton Rouge. LSU's had some success since then. They won the national title a couple of years ago. You still wearing all your Gator stuff around Baton Rouge?
Definitely. This crazy is, people always when they see me, they always say, "Man, I can't believe you. I'm a fan of LSU." Da, da, da. And then they'll be like, "I can't believe you have enough nerve to wear this." Well, the difference between you and I is that you're a fan and I'm an alumni. There's a difference. So, when I say stuff like that, everybody kind of backs us like, "Oh, oh, my bad." Yeah. So, it's not hard at all, man. I get all the jeers and all the stuff, everything. Everybody has something to say. But at the end of the day, they'll be like, "I don't know," or somebody might say something smart. I say, "Well, don't worry about it. Google me." And then you come back and talk to me, and we'll have this conversation again. And then that usually shuts that down. So it's pretty cool, though.
No doubt. Before we let you go, you got a good Coach Spurrier story for us?
Man, I don't. I don't know. There's been so many, man. I guess when people have all these great stories about Coach Spurrier, and I do too. I've never really sat down a whole bunch and really thought about it, to be honest with you. There's so many great opportunities that we had at University of Florida, and had some great games and great experiences. I always laugh, and I tell the story around here is that I remember when I tell them about the issue with he thought he was going to LSU, so and how all that stuff came about, and people say, well, I think it was like what's the guy name? Was it? I don't remember the guy no more at LSU. I think it was Curly Hallman, who they wound up signing instead of Coach Spurrier. But then when I tell them about the story, obviously they had the deal going on with the athletic director was actually leaving LSU going to Florida. So, yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things that I remember the most about.
Well, Jack, we appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, for all our younger listeners, go YouTube #1. He was the first real stud wearing #1 at the University of Florida. Hey, man, we appreciate it. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
Thank you, brother.
That's Jack Jackson joining us on the Titan Memorial Hotline. We're going to take our final time out of this Monday edition. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Weeby Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
We're looking for all type of restaurant people, managers, servers, bartenders, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, bussers. If you think you're good in the restaurant business, then give us a call.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill job fair is open now. All you have to do is go to spurriersdraft.com and fill out an application.
We're looking for the good team members, and we're looking for people with a wonderful attitude that can make Spurrier's Gridiron Grill the best we can possibly be. To apply, go to spurriersdraft.com.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, and we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank JC and former Gator wide receiver Jack Jackson for joining the program today. Make sure you tell all your friends and family to follow us and like us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the different podcast platforms. Follow our program, please. Tomorrow's program, make sure you tune in. We'll have Buddy Martin get his thoughts on what's going on in college football. We're also going to be joined by former Florida State Dexter Carter, longtime running back in the NFL, get his thoughts on playing for Coach Bobby Bowden. And again, our thoughts and prayers still go out to the Bowden family. Just a tremendous career by Coach Bowden, and he's plugging along. But today's show is a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.
1st and 10. Matthews, near side, wide open, Alonzo Sullivan. He may go. Touchdown, Gators.